Mr. Hart.
Hi, Krista.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you as well. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I think first on our agenda is the approval of minutes for March 3rd and March 10th. Commissioners?
Motion to approve.
Terry, is that going to be both then?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
This is Cormano Smith. I'll second.
All right. First and a second. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Eileen?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye, Wayne. Aye, Cormano Smith.
Aye, Randy Wagner. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Next on our agenda is Commissioners' reports and comments. Vice President Baker, would you begin?
I'd just like to say good morning to everyone. Good morning to all of Washington County, and just like to thank everybody for being patient and listening to the governor's directions and our county's directions. And I'd like to thank our staff for just doing an exceptional job keeping us abreast to all of the things that we should and shouldn't do in Washington County. And just really want to thank them for all of their love for Washington County and their compassion.
Thank you, Terry. Very nice comments. Commissioner Keeper?
Yes, thank you.
Keep your phones on mute, too. I'm sorry, Wayne. Keep your phone on mute when not talking.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. You know, I'm really looking forward to the day again where we have our meetings in person and we can be around each other a lot more often. And county staff does a great job for us remotely. But that human contact is always very nice as well that we have. You know, I think as we are reaching the climax or the plateau of the coronavirus, and I know each state's talking about different dates when that may happen, I think possibly last week may have been that climax for people being in their homes and not having access to things that they're used to, being around people. I received so many calls last week on a variety of issues, run the gambit, cover every area of our lives that probably was obviously in a quick decisions that had to be made, that were made. Some things were overlooked, forgotten about, not realized how important they are, and you know how we define essential is different for everyone and what their needs might be. So, you know, I hope as we prepare for the next legislative session in the General Assembly, there might be an opportunity for us to discuss in Washington County what we might like to see changed, possibly through legislation. God forbid, should a situation like this happen again. Just as I'm being contacted by so many people, I'd like to maybe ask our citizens, and so much has been asked of our citizens. Thank you for what you're doing to help and doing what you're asked to do, you know, whether it goes against your grain or not. Thank you for what you do. But this could be a good opportunity to reach out to some of our friends and neighbors, our older citizens in particular, who, you know, are truly feeling the loneliness right now during this time as we're separated. Older citizens don't always have access to that technology, so they could Zoom church meetings or FaceTime with loved ones. So I went through my Rolodex on my phone about 2 weeks ago to call or text people on my list to see how they were doing, family, people I knew, friends, or people I just made contact with as a commissioner over the last few years, to check on people. I think they really appreciate that, and you know, many people I spoke to, some of them said yes, other people are reaching out to me as well, but it's always so nice to hear from people. So I would just urge our residents to do that. Check on some older folks in particular. Maybe you can't visit with them, but maybe you can also make a grocery run if that's what they need, or help out in some way. So that comment. I would also like to see some of the questions I've had from citizens, concerns, the ability to haul some trash to our landfill, and I certainly understand why we're doing what we're doing. But I'd like to see if maybe for a discussion next week, if need be, maybe we could extend our permit stickers that we sell to include also the month of July, or extend it a little bit further past this fiscal year when they run out, just because people haven't had the full free access, not free access, but the full access that they've needed to leave their homes or to take trash out as regularly as they otherwise would have. So maybe we can look at extending our trash permit another month or so. And that's my last comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Commissioner Wagner.
Morning. Morning. I'm going to echo a lot what Wayne and Terry said. I wanted to thank our staff. Obviously, some of them are working very long hours to get through this COVID-19. Our EOC is doing an amazing job. Meredith is doing a good job. We're doing a lot of testing now. That's maybe why we see our numbers going up a little bit. I think the more we test, the more we're going to. So there's probably God knows how many that's never been tested that's already been through it. Also, I just overall think we're holding our own in this with county and all of our affiliates and our partnerships and getting through this. Still want to stress we patronize carryout. I mean, I feel so bad for everybody that's out of work and that owns a business. You know, there's a lot of restaurants. I try to patronize around about as many as I can, but I'm going to eat so much. But I wish everybody would do some patronizing of these carryouts. They're restaurants that generally don't do a lot of that are really struggling trying to make ends meet on this. And I do agree. The citizens do still have an opportunity to reach out, and they have been with emails and correspondence. But like Wayne said, some of the generations don't have the technology skills. You know, I think if we have an opportunity to help them one way or another, we should. And this is a whole new event. We're learning as we go. It's gonna change the way we live in little different situations throughout now. First time I've been through it, and it's an event that we're paying attention to and finding better and new ways to do it. And hopefully we'll be out of this soon, and people can start using. I know the landfill is a big deal for people. Wayne was correct on that, and I'd support anything we could to get that going. So anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Hey, Commissioner Schmidt.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to just concur what everyone said with the staff and, you know, getting our economy open and all of that slowly and safely. But I also would like to thank our first responders. 2 Fridays ago, there was a large warehouse in Oak Ridge Drive for Hardy Pet that they were out there at 2 in the morning. I think it was a 2-alarm fire. They did an excellent job. And then our business development stepped in because this is almost 40 employees. They stepped in, and that Friday afternoon had them a location, and they were up and operational again in a different warehouse by Monday. So that was great to see the county get behind them, helping them out. And then to all the other businesses that went out and helped them, because of the downturn and everything that we're going, trying to get servers and computers is next to nothing. Companies stepped up and let them use theirs and, you know, gave them extras so that we can get the people that are employed and working still working. So it was an excellent job from everybody in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Cord. Commissioners, in your email, I think we all received a letter from Ralph Young from the Historical Advisory Committee in regards to the property Bowman owns there at Exit 1 there, 81 South at Williamsport. And I hope you read that letter and can make comments at a later time. But I've also want to let you know I've asked Ashley Holloway at zoning to prepare a timeline or a series of events so we can find out exactly what is accurate and what is not allowed and what is there when hearings and meetings attended. So I want to thank Mr. Young for contacting me yesterday. It was a very nice call, and I appreciate his passion for that Williamsport area. Second, I also, too, want to thank all the frontline defenders and the citizens at all levels, many to thank, to know in Washington County that we not expecting such a virus like this, that we were somewhat prepared, and I want to thank our EOC. Wayne and Randy, to your comments about the elderly, I even noticed my 97-year-old dad becoming antsy and a little impatient with not being able to go out. One of the things he dearly misses is going to the church, and that face-to-face contact and service every week. So I hope that we're able to open up our businesses and services here locally in phases. I did ask Tom Brown about when can we start working on this, and he said that his staff will be working out in conjunction with Governor Hogan's plans would be when he issues the phase in of these projects and businesses to open. I do also want to say I had several calls about the landfill as well, and we can even see on a TV ad that car commercials or car insurances are giving refunds or rebates or dividends back to their users or clients for not using their car as much. So I'd like for us to, in the near future, see what credit or project that we could do to reimburse our people at the landfill since it's been closed. And all, thank you, commissioners, for your comments. I'd like to go ahead and accept reports from county staff. Announce yourself and department. Is anyone on the line? Yes, who's first? Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. I was waiting, but I didn't hear anyone. So normally I don't go first, but I didn't want to miss my opportunity. I have 3 comments for you this morning, commissioners. The first deals with the date that we have currently set for the public hearing. It's currently scheduled for May 12th. In conjunction with the county administrator, we would like to request it be moved to Thursday, May 14th to allow us additional time to prepare for that. And we would also like to request a change in venue for it to be a virtual public hearing presented by a video with an allowable comment period to be provided for 7 days following the hearing to meet the state requirements and to allow the citizens to participate in our budget process. I have talked to public relations related to this, and we can stream the video through Facebook, YouTube. We can have it available on our website and also through Antietam cable television. And then comments, we would like to be able to have those comments submitted using our website. There's a submission form on our website that we can point citizens to, and we can also have comments submitted through email. The next, if we were able to move the public hearing just a few days, still the next Tuesday that the commissioners may consider meeting would be May 26th, where they could review and discuss any comments that were received related to the public hearing.
See, Sarah, Randy Wagner. Is all of our time frames on the date? It wouldn't matter to me. I don't think that much move, but time frames for notices and that kind of stuff, that you take all that into consideration, obviously. Are we all good there on these movements?
Yeah, I think we are good there. The timing for the public hearing, based on the regulations from the state, requires the hearing to be held after the 7th day or on or before the 21st day of the publishing. So anywhere between 1 and 3 weeks. So we should be able to get that in and
Thank you.
So are you looking for consensus? We wrote on
I am. Yes, I'm looking for commissioners to move the public hearing from May 12th and have it be a presentation through video with a comment period extending 7 days after the hearing.
Commissioners, any comments or most? Go ahead.
I have a question. We're not excluding written comments. So, I mean, I understand if people are watching on an iPad or their iPhone, likely they have the ability to send in an email. But we're not restricting written comments, are we? We'll still accept those?
Yes, we will still accept written comments, and even if the commissioners want to provide a phone number or a way to call in and provide a comment, I think that would be an option as well, if that was the commissioner's desire.
And Sarah, what's the possibility, and maybe you can't answer this right now, maybe public relations can help with that, of maybe having this public budget hearing broadcast like on Antietam Cable or the local access channel? Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible, and I think there's even already been contact made with Antietam Cable, and if Danielle Weaver's on the line, she can speak to that. But yes, I do believe that they are willing to stream that for us a couple times.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sarah, you need a vote? Is that what you're calling for?
Yes, please, a consensus.
Consensus.
Sorry, I'm good. Okay. Randy Wagner, good with it.
Gary Baker's good with it.
Wayne Keefe, I'm good with it. Their meeting is fine.
Fine, okay.
Yeah, I don't mind, Schmidt. I'm fine.
Okay, that's 5 and a consensus. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you
Sure,
so much.
this is-
Go ahead.
Sarah, this is Kirk. I was just going to say, given the budget timelines and the changes that we've had to make, there was not a meeting originally scheduled for May 26th, but we are looking to have a meeting on that date to meet the timeline that you need for the adoption of the budget. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, that is correct.
Commissioners, you okay with that? Commissioners, you okay with that meeting date?
Yes.
Yes, Randy.
Yeah. Wayne.
Okay. Jeff, yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay. Thank you.
I have-
Any other? Go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry. I have 2 other comments I'd like to briefly go over. My second comment that Commissioner Wagner had last week regarding the county's response to
There seems to be some feedback, but you're going to be able to call. Sorry, Sarah.
That's okay. I can hear you. I think that is helping. Perfect. Thank you. My second comment relates to a question that was posed by Commissioner Wagner last week regarding the county's response to the worst case scenario situation as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to start by saying that with the uncertainty that we face, we have already taken necessary steps to do what we can to modify our spending in an effort to reduce deficit. We've also put on hold the hiring and we have reduced discretionary spending. We recognize that given the uncertainty of the economic environment, we need to prepare ourselves by addressing our current spending aggressively. And in the event that we do experience a larger deficit than projected, we would first look to reduce funding in certain capital projects to buffer that gap. We are also fortunate enough to have 17.9% in our general fund reserve. Our policy states the requirement of 17%, so approximately $2 million over our requirement that we could draw from. And lastly, we do have flexibility in our capital reserves to handle a larger deficit than projected. I think first and foremost, understand that the county is doing what they can to reduce current year expenditures, reduce discretionary spending, basically eliminate that, and reduce the hiring or delay hiring.
Sarah, this is Wayne. I have a quick question if I could ask. You said a reserve of 17.9% required to be 17%. Can you put that in a hard dollar amount?
Yes, I can. 1 second. The 17% reserve amount is $40,549,000, and our estimated reserves are $42,732,000. So we have approximately $2,183,000 more than the 17%.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. In addition to that, I just have one other comment. It relates to the discussion we had last time that we met, April 14th. The BOCC did approve for me to go ahead and move forward with the fiscal year 20 bond sale using a 30-year term for water quality projects, but there was a caveat that the interest rate did not exceed 2.5%. In conversations with my financial advisor and bond counsel, unfortunately, the market does not allow for the changing of the amortization schedule on the day of the sale, as the underwriter's bid on the amortization schedule is specified by the county, which along with the market drives the winning interest rate. So therefore, we can't move forward with a caveat on the rate of the 2.5%. So I'm here today asking the commissioners if they would still be willing to do the 30-year term regardless of the rate. Right now, the market is volatile, and we can suggest that we think the rate would be potentially less than 2.5%, but I cannot guarantee that. But in order to develop our documents, we do need a set term.
Sarah, Randy Wagner, would the 20-year rates fall into the same scenario as a 30? You just said
20.
You just said.
20 year,
go ahead.
The 20-year and the 30-year rate will differ. Will likely differ depending on, because it affects. It will affect the rate that the bidders are willing to pay. So, unfortunately, I can't provide to you commissioners any projection because of the volatility in the market right now. I can tell you if something would come in, the county could reject all bids, so we wouldn't be locked in.
Another question. So a 20-year rate, right now, would you be fair to say that a 20-year rate would be less expensive than a 30-year rate? Do we know that for sure?
Yes.
And what would be, as the hard dollar amount, as Wayne just asked you on another, what would that amount to? You got a scenario of what it would be over the course of that 20 years compared to 30 years?
Yes, I did present that on the 14th, and it really comes into the time value of money, and I'm not sure if court wants to speak to this today either, but that plays a part in it. So the impact of those dollars that are pushed out between years 21 and 30, you should consider the time value of money when considering an opportunity like this. I think from a financial perspective, we're asking for this because generally water sewer projects do have a 30-year life. Certainly the ones that we're proposing use the 30-year term due between 30 and 50 years, and so we feel comfortable aligning the debt term with the life of the project. And the benefit will be upfront savings in debt service costs to the county and to the ratepayers. And then, of course, though, that would mean, the term is extended for 10 years, so there will be payments the latter 10 years, where with a 20-year term there wouldn't. So there are some trade-offs. If you're just looking at dollars and cents, it is cheaper to do the 20-year, but it costs more now and is a shorter term, which I think is the point of discussion. As I spoke to my financial advisors regarding this issue, they have seen many counties switch water quality projects to a 30-year term because they do have a longer life than some of the other county projects that we issue bonds for. So it does make sense from a financial perspective. It's just, is the board comfortable and willing to do that? Do you have anything to add, Court?
No, I think what you explained earlier, the time value of money is, do we have better things to spend? I think it was $100,000 on our money now than we do the smaller amount 25 years down the road, especially with what's going on. Having that extra savings currently makes a lot of sense. I have seen a lot of those interest rates coming in below 2.5% currently. But, again, like you said, it doesn't guarantee it, but I do have confidence that it should come in below 2.5%.
This is Randy again. I guess I'm just having, and I just heard what Court said, is everybody thinks it's going to be okay at 2.5, but sometimes I have a hard time personally financing for 30 years when I could do it for 20 years if it's affordable. Blow a hole in that theory for me. So I guess I know, and I want to know in 100 words or less, why this 30-year thing is so great compared to a 20-year less interest and less money at the end of the term.
I think right now, considering the water and sewer funds, we continue to have increased rates and we continue to run a deficit in those funds. And so the $100,000 difference from a budgetary perspective will close the gap sooner. than it would otherwise. And taking into consideration the time value of money, while we will have additional payments being made years 21 through 30, a dollar today, costs more than $1 tomorrow. So I think that's the main gist of it.
Oh, okay. I get it. So we lock in. Your theory is we lock in for 30, and if we lock in for 20, at the end of 20 years, things could be we're not locked in anymore because we have to do it again. Is that what you're saying?
No, not necessarily.
I'd let another commissioner weigh in at this point. I think I've heard what I want to hear. See if anybody else has any unsolved.
Yeah.
I have just a
This
comment.
is Terry, and I understand time value of the dollar, and based on the amount that you're discussing, I'm going to support staff's recommendation. That's going to be my position.
Hi, this is Wayne. I support staff's recommendation, maybe for the same, if not a slightly different reason. Maybe even what's more so important than time value money is cash flow, and just the uncertainty of what our general fund revenue and budget may be going forward, at least in the immediate future. We will always be in this predicament of needing to add, from time to time, general fund monies into our water or sewer funds. That situation may continue, we'll see. But if it keeps our payments lower in the immediate short-term future, this is a project that the lifespan of that project will meet or hopefully exceed that 30-year time frame. I'm good with going out on 30 years for this bond. I feel pretty sure, as Court mentioned, that the rate will be low and reasonable, even if we can't guarantee it under a certain rate. So I'm fine with moving forward.
This is Corday. Yeah, this is Corday. I said one other thing to answer with Randy's question. One of the things you do have to think about is what you were alluding to is if we're paying 2.5% now, and these interest rates are at historical lows, 20 years down the road, do we think we're going to be paying a lower interest rate than 2.5%? That's one of the things that we have to think. And it's the same thing lots of corporations are doing now. They're going out and refinancing and going as far as they can because interest rates are as low as possible. So I definitely support this, and I thank you, Sarah, for bringing it up.
All right, thank you.
Okay, you got 3 votes. Randy, your consensus. Randy, what's your thoughts?
Well, it's hard for me to go 30 years when I could pay for something in 20 years, but there is some good points here, and I think the point that will probably let me go along with it is the fact that we are at historically low on interest rates. And 20 years from now, we could be at 5% or whatever it might be, or 6%, and that might account for the money we lose in that extra 10 years. Generally against my grain to do something for 30 years when I can do it in 20. But I think considering that rates are really low, and I think this is going to, when will this, one more question before I give a consensus. When will this happen? When will we go after this, and what's the time frame? So we'll actually be locked into a rate.
Yeah, it'll be for the fiscal year 2020 bond sale, which is expected to be held on Tuesday, June 9th of this year.
Okay, well that's close enough. I'm okay with it. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm going to move along with the rest. Okay, this is Jeff. Consensus on that. Sarah, anything else?
That's all for Commissioner comments today. Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. Any other staff out there wishing to participate, please identify yourself and department. Any other staff?
Yes, this is Kurt. This is Kirk. I just want the commissioners to know that I have received a number of positive comments from people praising how the county and the commissioners have been addressing this matter and the pandemic as we move forward. And I wanted you to know that because, in these times, it's often easy to hear the criticism, but I want you to know that there's been appreciation also want to point out that I think we need to acknowledge our staff because they have adopted changes to the way we work relatively quickly and in a short time frame. They've been very flexible, and there has not been a lot of complaining. So I think we should recognize everybody's in this together, and certainly appreciate the efforts that everybody's putting in.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. I think the last staff member right there, Krista, have any comments? The county clerk?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
All right, hey, I remembered you this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we'll proceed on.
Good morning.
County. Who else? Go ahead, identify yourself.
Hi, sorry about that. Hi, this is Ashley Holloway, Director of Planning and Permitting. Is there anything that you want me to address right now? Fine.
No, I just my request that you put a timetable with some information on those two properties, the Bowman Lightner and the Bowman Cornfield property, so the commissioners and everything can see all the details surrounding that. That would be my request.
Okay. All right, we'll do.
Commissioners, any other questions for Ashley while he's on the line? Okay, right. Thank you. Any other staff? Okay, hearing other staff, let's proceed with our agenda items. First up is our fiscal year 21 Senior Citizens Activity Operating Fund Grant. And Allison, are you on the line?
I am. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Please introduce yourself in the matter.
All right. It's Allison Hartshorn, Grant Manager for the Office of Grant Management, and hopefully on the line also is Amy Olak, CEO of the Washington County Commission on Aging. This morning we're seeking approval to submit the application for the Senior Citizens Activity Center Operating Fund Grant to the Maryland Department of Aging in the amount of $40,910 and accept awarded funding. The Office of Grant Management is seeking approval on behalf of the Commission on Aging to request funding in the amount of $10,940, which is to be utilized to offset the cost of the salary of the Assistant Manager of the Senior Activity Center. This position is currently already in existence and at the Commission on Aging and has been approved in previous fiscal years. In addition, the Commission on Aging is seeking a competitive grant for $29,970 to support a multimedia approach to disseminate information, education, and classes throughout the year. The funds would be used to purchase a Mac computer, lighting, microphones, software, backdrops, and a partial staffing cost for a development director. The Maryland Department of Aging requires the applications only to be submitted by the local government. Therefore, the county will be the grant applicant and enter into a sub-recipient agreement with the Commission on Aging. Amy, do you have anything you would like to add? If not, does anybody have any questions?
No. Commissioners, is there a motion? Approve application for both? That's what you want, Allison,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Commissioners, I'd entertain a motion to accept submission of both grants.
This is Wayne Kiefer. I'll make a motion to accept the grant, and maybe I could add something. I don't want to speak on Amy, but on Amy's behalf, if she's not able to attend or listen in for whatever reason. I know some of you have seen some of the Commission on Aging videos that are being posted through Facebook. I haven't seen any on YouTube, but I'm sure they're out there too. That kind of came as a way to continue to engage seniors while the senior center had to be closed. And I know our Commission on Aging in Washington County has been contacted by other Commission on Aging and senior centers throughout the state of Maryland, trying to get ideas and steps of how they could replicate some of those online programs that we're doing. So I don't know if that whole program is out of that necessity or not. If I could just finish, I don't know if this whole program is started because of that or not, but we're starting to really see the need for these virtual programs online for seniors as a result of with that, I'll make the motion.
All right, thank you, Wayne. Is there a second? Your motion is to approve both submissions, Terry.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any more discussion?
I just want to, this is Court Schmidt, I just want to point out, again, the fiscal impact of it says recurring expenses will be the sole responsibility of Washington County Commission on Aging. Just like we said before, that if the grant does not come through next year for the position, it does not mean that the county's going to step up and fund that position. I know it's the same thing we've been saying, but I just want to put that out, but I am a yes vote.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Jeff says aye.
Aye.
Aye. Terry.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Aye, Court Schmidt.
Four. All right, that's 5-0. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Hagerstown Regional Airport Care Act Funds. Garrison, are you on the line? Introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. I'm Garrison Plessinger, Director of the Hagerstown Regional Airport. Good morning, Commissioners. We are looking for the approval to submit application and accept award funding for the CARE Act funds that we discussed last week. Just to recap, $10 billion was given to the airport, dispersed through the FAA, provided by the CARE Act, to cover operational and maintenance expenses for the airports due to significant impact that the airports have on our economy. Each airport received a predetermined amount based off a formula that was developed by the FAA. This grant is 100% federally funded and thus does not require state or local match. The caveat is the Hagerstown Regional Airport must retain 90% of its employees in order to be eligible, and we are suggesting that we put these funds forward to the FY 2021 wages and benefits. That would be the simplest way to go about doing this grant. And the amount of the grant was $1,126,907. So we're looking for your approval to submit application and to accept the award fund.
Garrison, this is Jeff. I have a question. This funding mechanism is separate of any small business. This is a separate funding for the airports, correct? This is not taking any money from any local small business through this funding mechanism. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions?
That's Randy Wagner, motion to approve for the submission and acceptance of this grant.
Is there a second?
Second, Court Schmidt.
I have first and a second. Commissioners, any more discussion?
Yeah, I do have one question. You had mentioned that we have to retain 90% of our workforce at the airport. How many employees do we have?
Currently, we have 10 full-time and 15 part-time, which we have not let anyone go or nor plan to.
Okay. So that includes, when you do the percentage of retaining 90% of your employee base, that includes the part-time employees?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? First and a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye, Jeff, aye.
Aye, Wayne.
Aye, Court Schmidt.
Aye, Randy. Aye, Randy.
All right, that's 5. Thank you very much. Next up, intergovernmental cooperative purchase. On your tractor. Brandy, are you with us? Please introduce yourself.
I am. Good morning, Commissioners. For this agenda item this morning, we'd like to remove this from the agenda today and bring it back at a later date.
Okay with me.
Okay,
Commissioner?
thank you.
All right. Next up, we have rejection of contract renewal, maintenance service, heating, ventilating. Brandy, welcome back.
Thank you. Brandy Novel, a buyer in the purchasing department, and I believe Danny Hickson, the Deputy Director of Public Works, is on the line as well.
Thank you.
The first recommendation I have for you this morning is the rejection of contract renewal 1418, maintenance services for heating, ventilating, air conditioning, and automatic temperature controls. We move to take action in the best interest of the county and to request that the bid renewal for contract PUR 1418 for HVAC ACC with mixed plumbing and heating of Claremont, Maryland, based on this letter dated March 17, 2020, requesting an increase for the FY21 budget at the rate specified below. We wish to request a rejection of this due to the increase being considered excessive, and we would like to re-advertise this invitation to bid to solicit new pricing. You'll see the pricing listed below there. On March 4th of 2019, the board did originally award this contract to Rejection and Heating for a one-year period with 4 additional one-year renewals. This would be the first of the 4 of the renewals. The county does reserve the right to accept or reject any renewal request by a vendor and any increase in the cost. County personnel has met with the vendor and had a discussion and asked the vendor to reduce their requested increase. We were not successful. The vendor did also request an additional rate for travel time and a minimum of 1 hour per each time they're at a county facility. The bid document actually states that the travel time, the current bid document, that the travel time will be at the responsibility of the contractor, and the county does not guarantee a minimum or maximum on number of hours. Modest inflation was expected for the contracted pricing. However, this exceeded what we expected to come in. The rejection of the renewal will result in a rebid of the services and would not guarantee a lower price, but would provide us an opportunity to seek one. So we're asking for permission to reject the request for renewal with the pricing that they submitted and to rebid for these services.
This is Court Minor Smith.
Commissioners.
Yeah, this is Court Minor Smith. Thank you very much for this. You're looking at the taxpayer dollars, the 30% increases and 20s is pretty significant. So I make the motion to reject the bid.
All right, have a first. Is there a second?
I agree. Thanks, Brandy, for doing I second that motion.
Okay, first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, first and a second. Hearing no discussion, I call for a vote. All in favor of rejection and rebid, say aye. Jeff, aye.
Wayne, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Court, aye.
Thank you.
Randy, aye.
Terry, aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Terry, aye.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the contract renewal electrician services at county facilities. Brandy, you're up again.
Again, Brandy Nogwell, Buyer in the Purchasing Department, and Danny Hickson, Deputy Director of Public Works, is on the line as well. The next recommendation is for the contract renewal for electrician services for county facilities. We move to renew the current contract for electrician services with Cube Electric of Williamsport, Maryland, per the rates they added into their letter on March 28, 2020. Cube is requesting a 3% increase above their currently awarded hourly rate. On June 4th of last year, the board did originally award this contract for a one-year period of time with 4 additional one-year options. This is the first of 4. I did add the pricing from last year and the increase that they're requesting. Funds are budgeted in various departments' line items for this. And again, we're asking for the approval to renew with Cube Electric with a requested increase of 3%.
I'd motion to approve for renewal with Cube Electric.
Brandy,
Court Minor Smith, second.
I have a first and a second. Commissioners, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Jeff, aye. Anybody else?
Aye. Court Minor Smith.
Brandy, aye. Brandy, aye.
Terry, aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
Next up, Brandy, I think you're back, aren't you? Sole source award, procurement installation.
I am, and thank you for hearing me again. Brandy Noggle, Buyer in the Purchasing Department, and I believe I have Major Craig Rowe on the phone from the Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, Major.
Good morning. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
We got you.
Okay.
The recommendation we have for you this morning is the sole source award for the procurement and installation of a Pelco Video Expert Video Management System at the Washington County Detention Center. Move to authorize the sole source procurement and installation of Pelco Video Expert Video Management System at the Washington County Detention Center in the amount of $65,050.56 from ADI out of Gaithersburg, Maryland, based on the proposal they submitted on March 5th, 2020. The proposed upgrade for the detention center's camera system will consolidate two different camera recording platforms, both manufactured by Pelco. Under the current Pelco recording system, a user must administer the recording individually. The detention has 4 separate recorders that require to be managed independently. The upgrade will provide the means for them to consolidate them and be managed as one. The request does require 4 of the 5 commissioners in order to proceed with the sole source procurement. The Code of Public Law of Washington County, Maryland, sections 1-106.2, items 1 and 2 are applicable to this procurement. Funding is available in the amount of $65,640 in the department's operating budget. And again, we're asking for your approval to purchase this system as a sole source procurement.
Thank you. Commissioners, thoughts, comments, motion?
Did my understand this correctly? It's Randy Wagner. That is sole source. This wasn't put out for bid or anything, right? Is that what I'm hearing or not?
That is correct. Well, Major Rose could probably speak to that, but he did seek additional quotes on this.
Gotcha.
This was the lowest quote. Yeah, and
That's
seeking.
fine.
Okay.
I'd be able to approve Randy Wagner.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second to approve?
This is Wayne Kiefer. I approve. I'll make a second.
Do I have a first? Thank you. I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Yes.
Wayne, aye.
Nicole Milestone, aye.
Randy, aye.
Terry, aye.
Okay, Brandy, that's 5. You needed 4. Thank you very much. Thank you, Major.
Thank you so much.
Gentlemen. Welcome. Next up, budget adjustment. Scott Hobbs, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Scott Hobbs, Director of Engineering. This morning, I recommend the board approve a budget adjustment for the Capital Improvement Plan Project RDI 062 Valley Mall Area Road Improvements. The first phase of this project, the sidewalk extension, came in under budget, no longer needs the full amount of projected 2020 bonds, and there's an opportunity to adjust the bond issuance. So with that discussion, I'd like to turn it over to Sarah Greaves, who I worked with Budget and Finance on review of this project, to share more about the bond issuance.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves. Just wanted to report, this is related also to the bond sale that is projected to be held Tuesday, June 9th, upcoming. So one of the processes that we do through our review before we issue the bonds is take a look at certain projects where, maybe last year at this time we had a budget and may have thought that we needed to issue the bonds for this project, but we can see that this project is going to come under budget by $50,000. So therefore, we do not want to issue that $50,000 on June 9th. So all we're requesting today is to reduce this project by $50,000, and that will provide the documentation necessary for our bond counsel to reduce the size of the bond issue by the same $50,000.
Okay, Commissioners, comments, motion to approve?
This is Court Minor Smith, motion to approve.
Okay, I have a first. Is there a second?
This is Wayne Kiefer. I make a second.
Thank you. I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Commissioners, all in favor say aye. Jeff, aye.
Wayne, aye.
Court, aye.
Randy, aye.
Terry, aye.
All right, there you go. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, sole source bid award, procurement installation of a panic button alarm system. Brian Albert, Rick Curry, and Josh. Please introduce yourself.
This is Josh Renewal, Division Director of Information Systems.
Brian Albert. I'm an Assistant Director of the ECC.
Rick Curry.
Our Team Director.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. Okay, there's something before you, the sole source bid award, PUR 1463, procurement installation of a panic button alarm system, an alarm reporting system for the Division of Emergency Services. Recommended motion move to authorize a sole source procurement installation of a panic button system and alarm reporting system for CES, an amount of $150,500 from Digitized International Incorporated of Lake Huntington, New Jersey, based on this proposal dated December 19, 2019. CES wishes to apply Sections 1-106.2A and 2 of the Code of Public Laws of Washington County, Maryland to procure the request. These sections state that the sole source procurement is authorized and permissible when compatibility of equipment, accessories, or replacement of parts is a paramount in consideration. Procurement for the panic button system and associated alarm reporting panels located at the 911 dispatch centers require replacement due to age and issues regarding expandability as a result of requests for additional panic button stations in both the 100 West Washington Street and the courthouse locations. Procurement is considered sole source as the new system must be compatible with the O to allow a seamless changeover with no interruption in the ability to deliver alarms. This request requires the approval of 4 of the 5 commissioners in order to proceed with the sole source procurement. If approved, the following steps of the process will occur as outlined by the law. 1, not more than 10 days after execution and approval of the contract under this section, the procurement agency shall publish notice of the award in a newspaper of general circulation in the county. And 2, an appropriate record of the sole source procurement shall be maintained as required. The reason for the system to be replaced is because basically it's become unreliable for the alarms that are being taken and receiving. And also, I want to mention that there is an annual cost of $1,900 for maintenance on that, which we budgeted. As far as the fiscal impact, funds are budgeted in the capital improvement account as listed in the ARF. And also, you have a spreadsheet matrix showing the prices that were obtained from the various companies. And also, you have a literature attachment from Digitized as to what will be comprised of the system for the new alarm system. Are there any questions?
I have, Randy Wagner, I have some questions for, I guess, Josh on this one. I got 3 or 4 real quick questions. I got to be brief. What happens at 80 West? Nothing?
80 West has a temporary system we installed because their old system stopped working, so we did install a temporary, but it doesn't integrate with the old system that's currently installed. So they would not get advantage of the new system. Yes, they would. Their panel would be upgraded as part of this.
Oh, okay, it said 100 Washington West and the courthouse. I didn't see 80 West in there anywhere unless I missed it.
It might have been
just assumed. How many these panic buttons? I don't quite get. We have armed sheriff's department, and in these buildings. Where will they be located in these buildings? I mean,
well, there's a number of panic buttons already existing throughout downtown county buildings and other facilities. In addition, this system also monitors fire alarm systems and burglary systems installed in county buildings that dial in. And I don't want to go into too much detail in a public session about where the panic buttons are.
I got you, but they're in adequate locations, you're saying?
Yes, and there is a request to deploy more as well, and that is beyond the capacity of the current system.
And these will be good for at least 10 years till they're outdated, or?
I imagine so. If we keep with maintenance and upgrades, I think 10 years would be reasonable.
And these dial right into 911 center, is that what happens?
The existing system uses dial-in functionality. The updated system we're bringing before you today uses network connectivity, so there'll be a significantly reduced delay in
in the time a button is pressed to the time they get the alarm.
Hey, as long as 80 West is getting the benefit of something, I'm okay with it all.
Yeah, 80 West, the county office building at 35 West, and then the circuit courthouse and the 100, 128 complex are all benefiting from this.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments? I'll call for a motion. It is stated that we need 4 or 5 commissioners to support. Any other discussion before I call for a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to support?
I'd motion to support this panic system.
Is there a second to authorize and support?
Court Myers Smith, I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion, commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Jeff, aye.
Wayne, aye.
Court, aye.
Randy, aye.
Jerry, aye.
And do we have Wayne? I'm sorry.
I'm here, yes, I said aye. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I missed it. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. Curry, Brian, and Josh.
Thank you.
Next up, Chris Boggs, Rural Legacy Program. Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Boggs here, Land Preservation Planner. I have two items here for Rural Legacy. The first one is the Doug and Pam Velasek Rural Legacy property. That is at 18125 Lappins Road there in Fairplay. And it's got a historic house on it. And it was, part of that major thoroughfare there. It's very close to 65. So, everything involving the Civil War went up and down that road, a Battle of Antietam. It also has it's mostly hay, cropland, and some wooded areas. They use it right now as a beef farm. It's got 7 development rights we're going to extinguish with the easement. Since 1998, the county has been awarded over $23 million to purchase rural legacy easements. Currently, we've preserved 7,139 acres in the rural legacy area. And our recent grant that we received for FY20 of $1,502,982 will be used for this easement itself. The property is 40.99 acres, and the amount of the easement is $119,970. Of course, the rural legacy funding is 100% state dollars, and they will also provide a 3% administrative cost of the amount of the easement, as well as 1.5% for compliance. Other than that, if we reject the funds and reject the project, the funds will be allocated to other counties in the state. So the recommended motion is to approve the Velasek RLP easement project in the amount of $119,970 over 40.99 easement acres. Any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Hey, Chris, is there a little stream that goes through that property? That's what I'm seeing.
That's Marsh Run. Right
Okay,
there.
gotcha.
So Marsh Run goes through the property and then meets up with Antietam Creek a little further down.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions for Chris? If not, a motion to approve.
Jeff, Randy Wagner, motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Court, second.
Who was the second by?
Wayne or Court.
Okay, either one. Thank you. I have a first and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Jeff, aye.
Wayne, aye.
Thank you.
Court, aye.
Thank
Randy,
you.
aye.
Thank you.
Gary, aye.
All right, I think that's fine. Thank you. And I think now we're up for another one. Chris, please introduce yourself in the matter.
Yes, Chris Boggs, Land Preservation Planner. This next property is the Martz LeMaster Salamone Rural Legacy Easement Project. This is 89.27 acres on Chestnut Grove Road in Keedysville. The parcel is mostly hay and woodland, and the western portion of the property, it is bisected by Sharman's Branch, which is a tributary to the Antietam Creek as well. Of course, that's the whole Elk Ridge area with the Antietam Iron Works significance, as well as some area with significance to the Battle of Antietam. It's part of a pretty large block down through there. It has 5 development rights, which we'll extinguish with the easement. It's all part of the same grant for FY20. And it's another solid property for rural legacy. The easement area is, as I mentioned, 89.27 acres. The easement value is $264,810. Our recommended motion is to approve the Sherry Martz, Sonia LeMaster, and Scott Salamone RLP easement project. Any questions?
And Chris, just repeat the funding mechanism.
Yes, it's they were 100% state dollars. They're mainly through open space funds. And again, we receive 3% of the easement value for administrative costs and 1.5% for compliance and monitoring costs.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Motion to approve?
I got one, Chris. I just have one quick question. I won't belabor it. Chris, you said extinguishes all the 5 development rights?
Correct.
So it just clarification then. So anything that we're doing in rural legacy not necessarily doesn't have a chance to be a very limited development, correct? Or as far
well, correct. With these conservation easement programs, there has to be a transaction, and the transaction is for the easement value. We are purchasing their development rights. Rural legacy does allow landowners to retain one or more development rights if they pay a penalty that is based off of a formula that accounts for average easement values and average lot values from assessments and taxation. We also have a county policy that we generally do not allow more than 1 house per 50 acres. So that's kind of how that works.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion to approve?
This is Wayne Kiefer. I'll make the motion.
Court, second.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Jeff?
Wayne, aye.
Court, aye. Thank you.
Randy, aye.
Gary, aye.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Next up, general fund and capital improvement budget discussion. Sarah, please introduce yourself in the matter. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Greaves, Chief Financial Officer. I have 2 budget discussions for you today. I'll begin with the general fund budget, and then we'll move on to the capital improvement plan budget. Included in the ARF today is the general fund revenue and expense summaries. You'll also find that in tab 4 of your binders if you have your binders with you. The last time we spoke, I went into detail on how COVID-19 is anticipated to affect general fund revenues and the impact on the fiscal year 21 budget. From projections prior to COVID-19 to now, you can see in the revenue summary that the income tax budget has been reduced by approximately $15 million. Recordation tax was reduced by $500,000, and investment interest was reduced by $1.2 million. There are other write-downs as well throughout the document, but to summarize, total write-downs amount to approximately $17 million. As I stated in the previous meeting, we are in unprecedented times right now, and we'd like to move forward with a budget that is first and foremost sustainable. I have before you today a balanced fiscal year 21 budget that is very lean and represents less than a 1% increase over the fiscal year 2020 budget. This budget will continue operations. It will provide for mandates and other necessary costs, and it provides no disruption of service that currently exists to our county, to our citizens. The total budget is $235,443,580, and it's 0.7% or $1.7 million more than the fiscal year 20 approved budget. The revenue and expense summaries that you have in front of you show changes by department, but I can highlight major changes for you. The largest increase to the budget is for the Board of Education in the amount of $2,692,490 more than the previous year, bringing the total amount appropriated to the Board of Ed $103,208,100. Keep in mind, in addition to this funding, the county has appropriated $4 million to the Board of Ed on the capital side for capital projects. Other budget changes from last year to this year include a debt service cost increase of about $620,000, health insurance increases of about $525,000, detention center medical cost increases of $270,000.
Yeah, let me get that solved.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You're leaving now. I mean, you're not leaving.
I don't know.
Can you mute your lines, please?
I'll leave for real quick and have, she already is mute, right?
In addition to that, we have several changes for appropriations to certain funds. The largest change would be the appropriation to the sewer fund has been reduced by the $3 million that was appropriated in fiscal year 20. The appropriation to the highway fund has increased by $280,000 approximately for the SALT budget. Appropriation to the Cascade Fund has been reduced by the $200,000. This is based on the expectation of the sale. If this sale does not go through and the county maintains the operation and ownership of the Cascade Town Center, we will need to come back to this budget. The appropriation to CIP reduced by $700,000 over last year. Last year, the only amount that was appropriated was $1.5 million. That was related to speed camera revenue. In this version for fiscal year 21, we still only have speed camera revenue moving over to CIP, which is a reduction of $700,000 and represents an $800,000 transfer. The appropriation to the water fund, that is a new appropriation, and that is amounting to $133,000. That will be reoccurring, and we do, even in this amount that we show, the $130,000 going to the water fund, we do have proposed rate increases for water and sewer. I'm going to skip that for now. I'm going to come back to that, though, because I think that's something we need to discuss as well. The appropriation to transit increased, and then we have the SAFER grant-related expenditures, which include the county's portion of the wages, and then certain uniform expense and PPE costs that we will have, which the SAFER grant-related expenditures amount to about $506,000. So those are your major changes. There are other changes here and there that represent another $400,000, but I tried to break it down so I could give you the high level. So aside from that, we talked about, yep, go ahead.
So this is Court. Quick question. I just want to make it clear that there's no reduction in the, I'll say, the increase to the fire and rescue regarding the everything on the fire side and EMS side from this budget, that we've recently approved.
in the current fiscal year 20 budget, we have $1 million appropriated to some form of discussion or assistance with emergency services. That is in the fiscal year 21 budget. What is not in the fiscal year 21 budget is an additional $1 million, and I have that upcoming in the conversation. But yes, we have not reduced the current existing $1 million. We have provided in this budget the match for the SAFER grant, which the commissioners will be able to come back and make a final decision on if we receive those grant funds.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, due to the uncertainty that we face, not only in our budget, but also in regards to any state funding impact, which is currently unknown, we have brought to you this budget that continues county operations, provides for necessary costs, and provides no disruption of service to our citizens. However, in saying that and kind of leading into that conversation as Court was asking the question, there are many items that the county did look forward to funding in fiscal year 21 that at this time we've had to recommend delaying. And so these items do include capital expenditures of $2.5 million. As you understand, we had $5.8 million included in the appropriation from the general fund to the capital plan. We've reduced that significantly. We are able, and I'll talk about that shortly, to fund some capital projects in another way, but we will still have about $2.5 million in unfunded projects we'd like to keep as a priority for the commissioners moving forward. We also, on that priority list, would like to include wage increases for employees. The cost of a wage increase for employees is $1.6 million impact to the general fund. Keep in mind, we do see our neighboring counties furloughing employees. You know, the county's position, and with the commissioner's support up to this point, you know, has been to retain employees and provide no disruption, you know, in their pay if possible. And so that's what we're trying to do here. But it does mean we may have to delay a wage increase for our employees. There were several. Yes, sir.
Jeff here. I think the other week Commissioner Kiefer had a comment that we probably could wait to January and review as income maybe builds back up with a better economy. And a lot of these projects or wages or whatever could be reevaluated, as Commissioner Kiefer suggested last week. Is that not what you're saying?
Yes, sir. That is exactly what I'm saying. We will receive our first large distribution from income tax in November. We will also be in a much better position to analyze, you know, the impact of COVID-19. We'll be 5 months into the year. So yes, sir, I would agree with that. I think all of these items that I'm discussing right now should come back before the commissioners for potential funding.
So we're going to err on the side of on caution and hoping our economy bounces back strong to reconsider.
That is correct, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Court Milestone again. On the other page where it says priority list, the volunteer incentive, the company incentive, and the fundraising incentives, you know, that totals about $453,000. I personally would like to see that back in our budget. I know it's a little bit of money, but I think we will save a lot of money in the long term for that. As we know, we're having some companies having hard times, and what I don't want to do is be penny wise and pound foolish, where if we're not helping them now, then it could be 6 months down the road, we've got to help them out big time. And these are all matching grants, so they're incentives, you know, the fundraising incentives, getting them out and working, you know, so I would like to see those 3 fire and rescue incentives. And these are back in the budget if possible.
Commissioners, to jump on that conversation related to those incentives, there are 3 new incentives that were provided to you a couple months ago by Director Hayes, and one was a volunteer incentive, one was a company incentive, and one was a fundraising incentive. These were new programs that the county was going to institute. Because they were new programs and we had not already instituted them, that's why they are not funded in the fiscal year 21 budget. That is your discretion if you'd like to discuss that further. I would certainly appreciate any changes to the budget to be recommended now based on the tight timeline that we have to move to public hearing. If I'm not sure if I should.
Sarah, I support that because we are going to need to help our volunteers no matter the lack of fundraisings. Where would the money come from?
Personally, my suggestion would be to not write down income tax as much as we have. That goes into the conversation on the level of risk that we're taking with the budget. The income tax revenue budget is the most volatile one, the one that we, are trying to safeguard ourselves with and reduce. However, that is really at this point the only option we should think about doing because I fear that if we try to reduce other expenditures, we're then cutting into operational budgets that are necessary and required for the county to operate and function. So I would recommend increasing the income tax budget by that amount if we're going to include those expenditures in our budget.
This is Terry, Sarah. This is Terry. I agree with everything Court had suggested and Jeff. And also what I would agree to would be to, once we figure out, and I can't remember what the exact amount of money was that we were setting aside for the incentives, matching of fundraisers, etc. But since these companies aren't fundraising, we may need to use that money to provide some funding to the companies so that they can continue to pay their drivers and so forth. So I don't want to just earmark the money just for the three recommendations that are the three things that we've already approved to be funded as far as the incentives. I would also like to be able to have that money available if we have to help these companies providing some sort of a contribution to help them fund their paid drivers, etc. I'm going to support that as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, Commissioner Baker, because all of them are going to be down. If the carnivals cancel it at 2 or 3 of the volunteer companies, we may have to have additional funding, loan, grant, or some mechanism like you're suggesting to help in the future.
Yep, I'm going to support whatever they need.
And very good point.
At this point, what I could do is add the totals of those 3 programs up and put the total in an account. It could be a miscellaneous account for future discussion with the commissioners. Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. In addition, and kind of back to some of the priorities, the additional $1 million over and above the existing $1 million that remained in the budget is certainly a priority for the county and on this list as well. And so I hear your recommendation, and we would go ahead and make those changes. And while some of these costs, are not included in this version of the budget, we do feel that they represent a high priority to the county and to the commissioners. And certainly, as discussed before, if revenues materialize over the budgeted figures and at the commissioner's discretion, some of these could be considered for the mid-year funding. In addition, and as part of this conversation, as all things and all decisions made are intertwined here, water and sewer rate proposed increases, I think that we need to just have a brief conversation on that because it could impact the general fund budget. Currently, in the existing budgets for water and sewer funds, we do have a 3.5% rate increase for both water and sewer. If for some reason, well, number one, I would like to recommend that we move forward and set a date for a rate hearing for that recommended rate increase. I will say that in absence of a rate increase, we will have to revise the amount of funding that's appropriated to those funds within the general fund budget. You heard me speak a little bit before about the $3 million that was appropriated to sewer. That is now zero, and then we had an appropriation of approximately $130,000 to water, and much lower appropriation than, of course, we saw with sewer last year. The sewer fund currently does have a gap of expenditures and revenues of close to $1 million. the fiscal year 21 budget is not requesting that the general fund contribute to that because we feel that our cash reserves that exist today would help to buffer that gap. And at some point down the road, we could reserve the right to analyze that fund to see if any type of loan would be necessary that the sewer fund could then pay back. But the conversation today being that the rate increase of 3.5% does impact the budget and would impact the general fund amount being appropriated. On a high level, I'd like to say overall the water quality funds did decrease by $2.5 million over the prior year. And this was mainly the result of a bond 96A that, we have now made final payment on. So that's the good news. We're significantly reducing our expenditures. However, we're not where we need to be yet. We still need to propose the water sewer rate increase of 3.5%. And I was hoping to get a consensus from the board today to move forward with a rate hearing on that subject for May 12th.
Commissioners, comments on the water sewer increase?
Randy, I would call it third.
Can we change that date from May 12th to May 14th?
Kirk, do you have an opinion on that? That's May 14th is the date that we had suggested for the public hearing as well.
Right, and the budget that's going to public hearing is going to be premised upon what the rate assumption is, correct?
Yes, it is a factor. Now, go ahead, Commissioner.
Sarah, so all we're doing is voting to take the rate increase to public hearing, and then after the public hearing testimony and comments, then we can decide what to do with the rate.
Yes, 100% accurate.
Yes, because I would like to have some information. I know in years past we've had some outcry out in the Mulligansville community from, I believe they were told once they hooked onto the sewer, I don't know, I'm going to say 20 years ago, that rate or their fee would either stabilize or go away or something after X number of years. And I can't remember the exact way that that worked, but I know there was some confusion as to the water rates to certain customers in the Mulligansville area. And I think we should be addressing that also.
I think the Director of Environmental Management may be able to speak on that subject. And maybe what we do is... and it doesn't have to be today. Certainly. Maybe May 12th we can do a larger water quality budget presentation and include that conversation, or the 14th if suggested for the rates. Kirk, do you have any guidance on if we should do both hearings at the same time, or if it would be better to keep them separated?
Well, in the past, they've generally been separated.
Personally, I think they need to be separated. If we do them both on the same day, listen to testimony and then vote, that really doesn't give any justice to the people coming in pleading their case. And I would like to at least have a couple of days to think about the citizens' comments before I move forward with deciding if I'm going to support the rate increase.
Yeah, we weren't suggesting that you have a hearing and vote on the same day necessarily, because given the way these things are going to happen, we're going to have to leave the record open to allow people to get written comments in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, if we move forward with the water sewer rate increase hearing on the 12th, along with a water quality budget presentation, and then on the 14th we could have our public hearing. The comment period for both of those hearings should probably be 7 days. So the earliest that the commissioners would probably want to vote on the budget would be May 26th, which would be about a week and a half or 2 weeks in the water quality piece after that. Would that suit?
Yes.
And
they'd establish the water and sewer rates, and then they would vote on the budget in that scenario. Correct, Sarah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The water sewer rates would have to come first. Commissioner Kiefer, is that acceptable to you?
That's fine. I was just clarifying the date, so I understand what we're doing. My apologies.
Okay.
Just to point out, they are the only rate increases that are expected. Correct, Sarah?
Wait, I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, it's Kirk. I said the water rate is the only increase that is expected. There is not an expectation that fees at the landfill are going to change, or any of our permitting fees at 80 West, any of that.
That is correct, sir. The water rate increase is proposed at 3.5%, as is the sewer rate increase proposed at 3.5%. The only other increase in any fee that I can recollect would have been for the camp fees. I know that for the recreation department, and I understand that, even at this time, we're not sure how movement forward is going to occur related to the summer camp and everything. I do know that their fees were increasing to provide for some costs that were kind of add-ons, and so, if Kona Ice was going to come to the camp, instead of having a parent trying to remember to bring $2, that would be included in the camp fee so that all the kids could participate. It was a very minimal amount. That's the only other increase that I can recollect from the budget. So yes, the water and sewer increases are the only ones that need a great hearing.
Sarah, regarding the mobile home tax, it seemed like in the short legislative session, the legislators passed it being turned over to a property tax instead of the current percentage above rent, percentage of rent tax. Do you know if the governor signed that, and how is that going to affect the budget?
I do not know at this time if the governor signed that. I will find that out for you and provide that information to you. As far as it relates to the impact on the budget, we'll do an analysis on the average mobile home assessment that we feel, and we could provide an estimate for you on any differential that there would be. Because the new legislation that the commissioners agreed upon with a reduction in the rate has impacted it, probably almost 50%. So the impact from the assessed value may not be as great. So I can get that for you, though.
Also, and if that does come into effect, we need to make sure that if it comes into effect starting July 1st, that we stop that percentage tax before that happens. So I don't want anybody double paying.
Understood. I'll make sure that Todd Hershey is also aware of that.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, so to summarize, we have determined that we will go ahead and move forward with a rate hearing for May 12th for water and sewer rates, along with a more lengthy budget presentation on the water and sewer funds and a discussion related to Commissioner Baker's request about Morgansville. And then the 14th will be the public hearing date, and then a commissioner meeting will be scheduled for the 26th, which is currently not. With that, I'd like to go, unless that's inaccurate, I'd like to move forward just briefly and talk about some highlights from the capital budget, and then I'll be finished. Okay. Okay. So, is everyone agreeable to that?
Move ahead with me.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay, thank you. The capital plan has obviously been impacted. The $5.8 million that was planned to come from the general fund has been reduced to the $800,000. That $800,000 provides just the funding related to the speed camera revenues to the Police, Fire, and Emergency Services training facility. So our approach to the budget was to take a look at what priorities we had for fiscal year 21, And then we took a look at what projects do we have currently on the books that we either had savings from or for some reason or other faced a delay and didn't necessarily need previously programmed funds currently. So we do understand that while we made substantial changes, there are certain projects that we still need to fund and find a way to fund. So therefore, there's about $2.5 million in current year identified projects that we could either realize savings from or reallocate funding from. So I did speak with project managers on this issue. I did not make any of these decisions just by myself. It became clear to me that through these conversations, certain construction for larger projects would not take place for maybe 2 or 3 years from now. And so the funding that's sitting there in the project can be restructured and allowed to fund our current year priorities or our fiscal year 21 priorities. So some of the projects we'd like to utilize funds from today have been incorporated into our capital plan in years 2 and 3 to replenish funding. So basically, we're going to reduce the project today. We're going to use that money to fund fiscal year 21 priorities. And then in years 2 and 3 of the capital plan, we're going to put that money back so the project managers can finish their project. This seems to work out fine with their timelines. The major projects that are included here is Eastern Boulevard at Antietam Drive, an amount of $500,000. Old Roxbury Road, an amount of $1 million. Cleaning and painting of steel bridges of $300,000, and a highway maintenance shop in the western section of $374,000. Keep in mind, these projects are not ready to be constructed right now. We have funding sitting there. We're going to reduce it now. We're going to replace it in years 2 and 3 of the CIP plan. And if you look at your CIP plan, you will see those changes relative. So other major changes for fiscal year 21 want commissioners to be aware of. We have had to make changes because, again, we have $2.5 million approximately that we've reduced from the plan and are not funding. So some of the major components of that is pushing out the burn building that we had in the plan. We had that for fiscal year 21. That was approximately $500,000. We pushed that out 1 year. So we do still plan to fund it. We just don't feel like we can fund it in fiscal year 21. We did have a reduction in the amount allocated for the replacement of law enforcement vehicles. We reduced that by $350,000. The radio communication system upgrade was pushed out. That was a newer project this year, and the first year appropriation for that was $200,000. We pushed that entire project out. Reductions to pavement maintenance and rehab were also made. No changes were made to the Police, Fire, and Emergency Services training facility, and that's still construction as planned. I've tried to summarize the high level there, certainly with incorporating some additional projects that we talked about, borrowing from today and replenishing in the plan in year 3. Other projects had to be pushed out a year or 2. We did work with department heads to do this. And so are there any questions on that information?
Sarah, I have a question. You had mentioned there was a reduction in our pavement maintenance program. By how much does that delay, or does that mean we won't have the mileage of roads that are resurfaced this year or next year? What does that mean? What will people notice?
It will impact if Scott Hobbs is on the line. I'd like to defer the question. I can tell you the amount of total reduction is, sorry, I'm getting my papers here. The total reduction was $754,000. So it changed the budget from $5 million that was proposed down to $4.2 million. Scott, do you have anything to add on that? He may not be on the line any further. Certainly the amount of money that is programmed to that project will impact the amount of work that can be done.
Sarah, if I could ask a follow-up question. Has there been any reduction in funding of new road construction, new bridges from our CIP? And if you mentioned something I missed it, I apologize.
No, that's fine. Yes, let me see here. For bridges, for fiscal year, not for fiscal year 21 in bridges, but what I will say is that I can provide you a draft 3 versus draft 4 of the CIP plan, and what that will show is any reductions prior to COVID-19 changes and then any changes after. So you can specifically see there have been many projects that slid out one year. And so maybe if the first year funding was going to come in fiscal year 22, maybe it's now coming in fiscal year 23 type of situation. So there are a lot of those. I can tell you through conversations with Scott Hobbs that we have shared this plan with him, and it does not appear that anything detrimental to the plan, detrimental would occur because of the plan changes, if that helps.
Yeah, and the only reason I asked, I receive calls and concerns from citizens frequently about building new roads, new bridges, but not being able to maintain what we already have. So I just want to make sure that this doesn't, further highlight that argument. That's all.
Oh, I understand. In looking and assessing some of the projects, some of these projects already had prior year funding, and they may be in the process of being constructed. And so in that case, we were not making many changes. I will say some high priorities I think Scott mentioned was Frog Eye Road Culvert. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that project, but that's a $600,000 project. The other component to this is a lot of these larger bridge and road projects are funded with bonds. And so primarily the changes that we had to make were general fund related. That plays some role.
Sarah, this is Court. Can you give us, I guess, an update on the Board of Ed's capital request money and the matching dollars that they could receive for that?
Yes. The Board of Education has expressed a need for an additional $2.7 million over what the county has in the plan. $500,000 of that is related to a new school and would be all county funding, meaning it's not related to state match money. So I would say the amount that they're requesting to match state funds would be closer to $2.2 million. Currently, the county's funding them the $4 million as we had programmed in the plan. And with the current situation of our finances, as far as $2.2 million more, we'd have to consider the impact of that. Either we would possibly be able to make further changes. Is that what you're asking, Court? How we would be able to fund that?
Well, I guess there's a couple. One is how we could fund it or even partially fund it. Two, is the state going to give any leeway because of this with those matching dollars? Just trying to figure out if there's anything that we can do, because that is a significant amount of matching dollars that I'd like to see what we can do.
Okay. Currently, I haven't heard any changes from the state side on, the matching dollars changing. I do think that, well, there are a couple things that we can think about here. Number one, if the commissioners had an appetite to increase the debt, so currently the debt is at $12 million in bonds. That could be an option. Certainly, I wouldn't feel comfortable programming it in our operating budget because we're trying to safeguard ourselves from funding, from making too many commitments that, could possibly not be realized with our revenues. So the other avenue may be to take it from reserves, but I would caution the commissioners on taking that avenue because that's cash that we have available to us. We want to retain that as much as we can, especially given our current economic environment. And so if there would be consideration to increase the $4 million amount, I would suggest potentially increasing our debt from $12 million, whatever amount the commissioners felt comfortable doing. Other than that, I mean, we could look at current projects that we have to see if there are any road projects. I'm not sure that there are that have not already started that are utilizing that $12 million in bonds. Okay, so if we had a project that had not already started, we could push that project out and try to reappropriate the bond money. I'm not sure that's the case here. I'm not sure we have flexibility here. I'd have to.
Sarah, pardon the interruption. Commissioners, is there any interested in doing that before I ask Sarah to wrap up?
I have a question, if I could.
Please do. Go ahead, Nate.
Okay. Personally, I'm not interested in borrowing any more money, but couldn't we also look at our capital budget similar to how we would look at our operating budget? Maybe a mid-year review if revenues are greater than maybe expected, if the economy rebounds sooner rather than later. We could also revisit our capital budget, and if we did and were able to allocate additional money for Board of Ed capital projects to take advantage of state monies, is that okay if we're doing that mid-budget year? Do you know, Sarah?
I'm not.
Beginning of our budget.
Well, from our perspective, it would be fine. I'm not sure from the Board of Ed's perspective as far as if they would need a commitment to get the state dollars. If there would be a timing issue, I'm not sure. I'd have to check on that, which I can do.
Sarah, I guess what I'm asking you, can you wrap up and qualify what we're doing on May 12th? That's the water sewer, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. May 12th will be the water.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. May 12th will be the water sewer proposed rate increase hearing, along with a budget presentation by myself and Jeremy Mose, Director of Environmental Management. May 14th will be Thursday, 6 p.m. will be the rescheduling of our public hearing, which will be aired via video, and then a comment period of 7 days will be allowed for comments to either be written or to be submitted through the submission form on our website or through email. And then the commissioners will meet on May 26th to discuss the budget and comments and hopefully move forward with approving the budget, but that's up to commissioner discretion.
All right. Commissioners, are you okay with that timeline or any other comments?
I'm good. Thank you.
Gary's good.
One more
Randy?
thing.
Sarah wants to say something else before I say I'm good.
One more thing, Commissioner Klein, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to solidify here that there's going to be one change made from the budget you see today. It's going to incorporate the total of those volunteer incentive programs, those 3 separate programs, back into the budget. I'll be increasing the income tax revenue for that. No changes right now on the capital side, but that I could add an amount of money to a priority list for future funding potential, and I will respond to commissioners related to that via email if I can talk to the Board of Ed about that timeline.
Okay, anybody else okay moving forward? I'm all right moving forward.
I'm good, Randy.
Okay, is that everybody?
This is Wayne. I'm fine.
Okay, I think that's all 5 of us. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All righty. Commissioners, next on our agenda is to go into closed session. We've all been given directives and numbers to dial back in so we can have a closed session discussion. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
This is Court Minor Smith. I'll make a motion to go in closed session.
Wayne Kiefer, second.
That's a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's start in about 5 minutes or so from now. We'll take a 5-minute break. Is that okay for everyone? Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.